shine a little brighter. Jeez, feel like stuffed chicken or stuffed turkey. One of them. That better light. Nah, bro. No game, especially not as I come on. People, bro. Come on, people. Jump on. Oh, no, Maki there. Is it the right one? That's okay. Can I put it behind here? Make it a little better. Ooh, ooh, a little better. Don't worry, guys. My studio is almost set up. I'll soon set up my studio back again. Welcome to the live, guys. Top of the screen. Mackie, you're here. What's up, Mac? Mommy Mac on YouTube. Silent viewers, wherever you are, welcome back to another Friday. We made it. We made it to another Friday. What's going on? How y'all doing? Top of the screen over here on TikTok. Let's chat. I'm not going to prolong it. I'm going to keep a 1 hour talking session. And I have a video I want you guys to hear. Because you know how last week, right? I spoke about the whole Diddy thing and I shared videos and of the rundown, the breakdown of what took place in court last week with Cassie testifying and everything. And you know, on social media and even within my little close knit group, you know, of friends, you know, associates, whatever, acquaintances, people, we discuss certain things, right? And what I've noticed, the consensus, the majority of people are saying is Cassie knew what she was in, and Cassie could have left a long time ago, and Cassie chose to stay, and it's because of money. And I'm like, are you for real? And guys, I love you all and everything, but like, it really made me think a certain way when I hear some of you guys talk, because that sounds a bit mean. And a lot of you are females, and a lot of you also know what it feels like to be manipulated. But because you're not being manipulated in the exact way that Cassie is being manipulated, you think that you're different, and you know, certain things can't happen to you, when in fact, if you look at some of the things that you go through, I'm talking about me as well, a lot of us have been manipulated by men. They may not have been or is abusing us as what Cassie went through, but a lot of us go through manipulation. And we are in those situations for years, a lot of the times, for decades, a lot of the times, until we finally realize, until we finally get that, you know, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And then you ask yourself, how did I sit here and allow this to go on for so long? Guys, we're not better than a lot of victims that are going through some of these things. Because if you guys want to be honest, you know, you are going through some of the manipulation as well. You're going through some of your own manipulation, and in long-term relationships with people that mean you no good, just the same. And for whatever reason, you're still in that relationship. I can't say, because it's your life. I can't tell you, oh, you're there because this is what you want or that is what you want. Or so, I know it's in the public and everyone can judge, and it's free for everyone to dissect and give their opinion, what they feel. But for people to be saying that someone stayed in a relationship because of money, even after getting like their lights knocked out, being drugged, you know, being made to perform some of the most deplorable acts on others, for you to really listen to all of these evidence and still have that same sentiment, it's like, do you guys have hearts? And I'm not speaking about anyone in particular, but I really have to ask, do you guys really have hearts? Take yourself out of the situation, because in the Bible it says we shouldn't rely on our own understanding, right? And seek wisdom from the Lord. But I think most of us are going by, if it doesn't sound sensible to us, that means, oh, it's not sensible, or it has to be the way that we're thinking it is. No. Now I'm going to talk about Cassie. This is not what I came for. It's not really Cassie's day today, but I'm going to go back a little bit on what the situation with Cassie was. Young girl, 16, 17, 18. I don't know the exact age she was when she met Sean Combs. She was signed in a contract. So she's bound to a contract, a 10-year a 10 album contract, and only had one album done. Because most of you are saying she stayed for the money, right? If you sign a contract with a label and they're supposed to have you produce 10 albums, and after the first album, that's it, everything is at an alt, you're going to say the person could have left and do what? And go where? Try to find another producer or another label? Are you all thinking about the facts? I don't think most of you listen most of the time. You listen so that you could have something to say. A lot of us don't listen and comprehend what we're listening to. We just listen so that we could judge a situation. How could you say that someone could easily well get up and leave? And go where? And there's so much more evidence. Well, go on, Mystique, saying that this man, the things that he did, right? He BLEW up an associate's car because of what he thought Cassie was doing, trying to get away and with someone else. Okay, good, Mystique. Thanks for joining. Tap up the screen, guys. Thank you. Everyone that's here on TikTok, tap up the screen. YouTube, please like, right? And there are so many more victims from this man, from this boy, from this being, because he's not a man, from Sean Puffy Combs, P. Diddy Combs. And those individuals have kept their mouths closed. And you females are sitting here and scrutinizing Cassie about not running to the hills and how much time she had to get away. Oh my God, come on now, ladies. Females. Because I don't hear it from most of them. I hear it from the females. And money she want. She wanted the money. She loved the money. And, huh? After hearing how many times she tried to get away, how many threats she received, how he went and sent individuals to her apartment, to where she lived, after she tried getting away. And you guys still have the same sentiment? Easier to speak because they are not in the situation. Talk up. That's what I tell them. I tell people that all the time, and I say to them too, it's like you're judging me. I was in a 20 odd year relationship with the father of my children. I went through physical abuse, verbal abuse, you know, but there were good times. I did love this man. I was head over heels in love. I wasn't standing up in love. I fell in love. I was being manipulated. This individual is also a narcissist. So at one point I was being told, you're my everything. The children, you and my children, I don't know what I would do without you guys. I'm sorry. I don't know why I did that. Plus the guilt trip, you know, the manipulation that I received. Plus I'm coming from an abusive home. So I already came into that relationship with my own baggage. So how dare I sit here and judge someone else's actions and ask why they didn't leave? They left. They're speaking now. Double whammy mistake. When you're already vulnerable and then the devil plants someone in your life to get rid of you altogether, because guess what? Like I said earlier, we dare not trust our own understanding. All things work together for good to those that love the Lord and know him for themselves. The devil knows the plans that the Lord has for me, for Cassie. But he is going to use his advocates to try and get rid of us before we reach the destiny that God has for us. A lot of us are not spiritual. A lot of us don't spend no time with God. So certain things that we're making, comments on and judging, we have no right to, because we don't have the spiritual insight. I didn't have it. And that's why I suffered for so long. Not to mention, witchcraft was involved in my relationship that I wasn't aware of. A lot of the things that were being done, yes, I was aware of it, but because of where I'm coming from, my history, the abuse that I endured in my own home, I was willing to try and see if this one would change, or I didn't know what love was. Because the same way I got abused by my father and I was told he loves me, he's my father, and he doesn't know why he does the things he does, and the same type of manipulation I faced in my relationship. Only thing I don't know if I was being sexually abused. Sex was used against me as well in my relationship, because they would withhold affection, emotional abuse, because I was being cheated on. So you marry, me never married, but me didn't have a long-term relationship. God, don't even say that. It's so disgusting. But Mystique, you get what I'm saying. Is that I left one devil, me run away from one devil, the house of my father, and met up with a next devil, similar to my father. The manipulation, the physical abuse, verbal abuse. You get me? The lies about love. Trying to tell me this is love because I don't know what love really is. Was. Not having a mother. Abandonment issue. Bullying. All of that. I had all of that battling with already. So how could I tell you my story and you see Cassie's story and you want to blame me? It's like you're blaming me, my friend, for staying in the relationship that I had 4 beautiful children with. Because I couldn't break away fast enough. I see a lot of you on here. I see it going on with Rochelle and what's your name? Unstoppable or something, another K. Who's arguing with each other? Rochelle was in her marriage and in her relationship for 8 years. Kay was in her relationship for a few years. And it's like it's a back and forth. Who are the stronger one? Because who run out of the relationship faster and who stayed in, so them weaker? Where do you guys get these mentality from? How do you measure a person's love and affection? How do you measure a person's experience with your own? And you're not that person. Do you guys know that? Oh yes, Mystique. Me see them on the For You page and so I just shake my head when me see it because I'm like, you guys are grown females, but I know what it feels like because I experience it in my own life. Them cuss and go on, or the boy a cheat on you, and the boy, and some of them are going through the same things in their relationship. For them husband not sleep out at night time, I come home a morning time, I have a million girl upon them, and guess what? They do not dare speak about it. And they make excuse for it. But because I don't sugarcoat, and I'm very transparent with my experiences, they think that they could use it to attack me. But that is strength. When you can accept your past, when you can accept your experiences and know that it does not define you. Because you serve a God. He's the one writing your story. He's the one that says it's time. It's all coming from him. Not what you say. When a person realizes that enough is enough and they can't take it no more and they've reached their breaking point, they know. How dare you attack that person for gaining their strength? You gained your strength, your so-called strength, faster. But how many tries did it take you before you got it right? How many relationships did you go through? How many times were you married? Because sometimes we get desensitized, you know. When we're going through something so often, it's easier for you to walk away. But when a person has invested their all into something, plus you don't know what their experiences are and what they're going through, you cannot dictate when it's time for them. The time is when it's the right time. Who defines the right time? That is God. God and God alone. No man, woman, or child. But like I was saying, Cassie is not the only victim of P. Diddy. And you guys are are talking, that when you guys make statements like those, you make statements on individuals, women and men that go through domestic violence. It's like you're blaming them for the abuse they endured. And that is not right. Because you're hearing one thing, that does not mean you know everything. You don't know the whole detail. Not because someone comes out and they share some of their life with you, that does not mean you know every single thing of their life and what they're feeling inside, what's going on in their mind, their body, their soul, their home, their living situation, their finances. Turning the victim into a perpetrator. Talk now. It's time we stop victim shame. And a lot of you think that you feel so powerful, when you could, we project your anger and your fears onto someone else, and you see someone else struggling, so you feel better about yourself because theirs are out there for everyone to see, while you cover, lock and key and padlock yours, and you think nobody knows about yours. Your conscience alone are gonna ride you and eat you out. Right? But now that I've said that, I want you all to know Cassie is not the only victim of P. Diddy. There's Kid Cudi. There's another lady, I can't remember her name. And one you guys are not going to believe, but I'm going to play. That's the video I want to play for you guys to listen. You'd never believe it. And these things cause so much trauma for people. Some people are keeping some secrets that they want to free themselves of. But because of us, the public, and how judgmental we are at other people's demise and circumstances, the people suffer in silence, keep their mouth closed. And that's when you have perpetrators like P. Diddy manipulating others. You hear me? Wicked witches like my ex-mother-in-law that do undermining things, spells and curses to keep someone like me bound so that we don't speak up. But when the right time came, here I am, freeing myself, not worrying about any type of judgment. I'm no longer a slave to fear, crippling fear of how I'm going to be perceived and be judged and be classified and looked at. No longer afraid of standing in my truth and speaking about my molestation, abuses from all different types, about my mental illness diagnosis. No longer a slave to fear, because I am the child of God, and I accept myself for who I am. All right? So, like I said, I want you guys to, I'm going to share it on my YouTube, and then I'm going to let you guys watch it on TikTok. All the socials, I've been checking the news, and stop. We need to start making these perpetrators accountable for their actions and stop blaming the victims. Sorry, Steven, I don't play games on Friday. Oh, tab. Okay, here we go. Courtroom. Okay. Okay. And a lot of us have children. It's like we're telling you guys don't think about what you're teaching your children. Listen, Maki, when the shoes is on the other foot, then we can talk. Exactly. Some of them haven't gone through not even a second of some of the things. And even if they have, right? The way you deal with something and the way I react to something are not the same. They are not the same. We're two completely different people. Is not everyone have the guts to leave when we are in certain situations. Some of us are so blessed to still be alive, to overcome some of these things. You think I'm fully healed? You guys think I'm fully healed? My firstborn next month, I'm going to be 28. Just since 2023, I finally threw in the towel because I realize it's going to cost me my life if I keep on fighting. Sometimes we don't know if we're natural fighters. We don't just jump and give up and run to the next one. We fight and we go toe to head, foot, heels, everything. From the crown of our heads to the soles of our feet. We fight. God alone can't tell if we stop fight. Some of us lose ourselves completely from fighting. But thanks be to God, He opened up our eyes. At least we made it. And we know better. Don't judge. Especially when someone now go through the same. That's all I have to say. Now listen to this. DJ Dutch, Wagwan, bless up yourself, brother. Listen to this, guys. One of the victims that you guys probably never knew existed. Let me bring this a little more. And listen keenly. Let me turn this up. All right.
Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. The following is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is the verbatim federal courtroom testimony of the Sean Diddy Combs trial as reported by Inner City Press. Nobody expected him. The room was tense. Eyes focused on the next witness until the back doors opened and in walked Will Smith. Gasps echoed. Even the judge froze. No announcement, no pre-written statement, just Will stepping forward on his own. Until that moment, he had stayed silent as his name swirled through headlines, court leaks, and whispered audio recordings said to be too disturbing to release. But something had changed. Maybe it was the rumors. Maybe it was the betrayal from people he once trusted. Maybe it was hearing that tape played behind closed doors. Whatever it was, Will was done hiding. He wasn't on the stand as a celebrity. He was there as a man who'd seen too much and said too little. And when he began to speak, the courtroom...
My friends laughed at me for buying this, and now they ask me where I got this. So I almost made the dumbest mistake of my life. I got the...
wasn't prepared for what they would hear. Because what Will revealed about Diddy, the parties, the manipulation, and the fear wasn't just explosive, it was a warning. It started like any other day of the Diddy trial. The room buzzed with low conversations, the press hunched in their designated rows, and lawyers whispered strategies as they waited for the next scheduled witness. But when the side doors opened and Will Smith stepped into the courtroom alone, no entourage, no legal team, no announcement, the room changed. You could hear a pin drop. Some people thought it was a mistake. Others thought it was a stunt. But the way Will walked, slow, focused, with that old Fresh Prince stoicism, melted away into something more raw, told everyone this was real. The judge raised an eyebrow, and Diddy, who'd been smugly lounging at the defense table, suddenly looked tense. Will walked straight to the witness stand. No eye contact with anyone. He didn't even glance at Diddy. "I wasn't asked to come here today," Will began. "I asked if I could speak." The judge allowed it. And from that moment on, the entire trial shifted. Because what Will Smith was about to say wasn't part of any media narrative. It wasn't a social media leak. It was something that had haunted him for years. Something that began at a party no one was supposed to talk about. "I've kept a lot inside for a long time," he said. "I've laughed on red carpets. I've won awards. I've made movies about honor and strength. But none of that can hide what I saw, what I experienced, and who made it happen." He turned just slightly toward Diddy. "You did." Will Smith told the courtroom that it started like many Hollywood stories do, with an invitation. "It came through a mutual contact, someone I'd worked with before. The way they framed it, it was supposed to be a celebration. Diddy's birthday. Nothing wild, just music, networking, a place where stars could unwind. I'd been to things like that before, so I didn't question it. But the moment Will arrived, he knew something was off. It was at this massive mansion in the hills. Black SUVs at the front, security everywhere. The second I stepped inside, my phone was taken. That should have been the first red flag. They said it was for privacy, to protect the guests. But it felt like something else, like they didn't want anything getting out. He was ushered inside. The lights were dim, the music low and strange, ambient, rhythmic, almost hypnotic. There were no cameras you could see, but there were mirrors everywhere. It felt like someone was always watching. Will said that after a few drinks and some casual conversation, Diddy approached him directly. He said something like, "Now you're part of the family," and he smiled. That smile, it wasn't warmth, it was ownership. Will said he followed Diddy into a back room, thinking they were going to talk business. Instead, what he saw shook him to the core. There were people performing, men, women. Some I recognized from film and music. Some looked young, too young. There were others watching, like it was entertainment. And Diddy? He was laughing, like it was the most normal thing in the world. He paused, swallowing hard. "I didn't know how to leave." And that was the point. Once you're in, you're in. Will continued, his voice steady but hollow. "A few days after the party, I got a call. Blocked number. All the voice said was, 'Hope you had fun, Fresh Prince.' Then they hung up. He thought it was just a weird prank, until an envelope arrived at his office. It was unmarked. Inside was a flash drive. I almost didn't look, but I did. It was footage from that night of me, sitting on a couch, clearly out of it. I don't remember being that out of it, but there I was, laughing at something I couldn't even remember. There was a voice behind the camera, Diddy's voice, saying, 'That's how we keep 'em.'" Will testified that the fear he felt in that moment was unlike anything he'd ever experienced. "I realized I wasn't invited to that party. I was initiated." He said that's when the manipulation began. "I'd get invites to more parties. I declined. Then suddenly, movie roles I was in talks for? Gone. People I worked with for years stopped calling. Rumors started online that I was gay, that I was unstable, that I was cheating. I knew what it was. It was pressure. Diddy didn't need to say it. He just made it clear that silence was the cost of peace. And so, for years, Will said nothing. He smiled through interviews, brushed off rumors, focused on work. But every time I saw a news story about someone else speaking out, Cassie, Don Richard, even Meek Mill's name being dragged into this, I thought, if they're speaking, why am I still quiet? He looked around the courtroom. Diddy didn't just ruin people's careers. He made them fear telling the truth. And that, Will said, was what finally brought him to court. Will paused, glanced at the jury, and leaned closer to the mic. It wasn't just a video. That was the leash. He said from that moment on, everything he did felt like it had strings attached to it. He explained that calls would come through his agent, invitations to events, meeting, projects. When he said no, things would shift behind the scenes. I'd say no to a Diddy event, and the next week I'd find out a greenlit project suddenly wasn't greenlit anymore. He said this didn't happen once or twice. It became a pattern. Diddy didn't have to threaten people. He had systems that did it for him. PR people, bloggers, producers. He knew who to call. He knew how to make problems appear out of thin air and how to make opportunities vanish just as fast. Will testified about one specific instance in 2013 when he had been lined up for a major international campaign with a top luxury brand. We were in final negotiation. I'd already shot the first lookbook. Then, out of nowhere, they dropped me. I never got a reason. But 2 weeks later, I was invited to another Diddy event. When I declined again, the phone calls started. Rumor, gossip blogs, posting stories about me that were oddly specific. Stuff only someone with access could have planted. He said it was psychological warfare. You start to feel like you're crazy, like you're paranoid, but then you see it. The patterns, the punishments. You realize you're not imagining it. You're being boxed in. Will told the court he knew other celebrities going through similar things. Some of them are sitting silent right now. Some of them have contracts that won't let them speak. Some of them are scared they'll be exposed the same way. Then he turned toward Diddy and said plainly, "You didn't just collect people, you controlled them." And everyone knew exactly what he meant. Will didn't stop at the manipulation. He explained how Diddy's grip wasn't just over artists, it stretched into Hollywood's entire foundation. You couldn't walk onto a major stage without brushing shoulders with someone he helped put there. Will said he once attended a charity gala in 2016, where, behind the scenes, high-powered figures from music, film, politics, and tech were all thanking Puff as if he was the glue holding the whole thing together. I watched one executive from
Did you know that you can call your soulmate into your life right now? Here's how. This is the soulmate sketch
a streaming platform hand him a USB drive and whisper, "Only you have the final cut." Will didn't say what was on the drive, but he said it confirmed what he'd feared. Diddy wasn't just networking, he was gatekeeping. He described moments where he saw other actors, rappers, and public figures behave oddly submissive around Diddy, like they were trying to stay in his good graces, laughing too hard, deferring to him in every conversation. I realized a lot of people weren't his friends, they were his survivors. Will testified that one reason he stayed silent so long was because he thought speaking out would blackball him permanently. But then I realized I'd already been blackballed, quietly. No official blacklist, just whispers, doubt, and doors closing. He said the only reason he stayed relevant at all was because his audience, the public, wouldn't let him disappear. That's the part Puff didn't control, the people. He explained how, over time, he began to see things differently. He started revisiting old footage, photos from events, after parties, press junkets, realizing how often Diddy's influence loomed behind the scenes. He was always there, if not in person, then in power. And then, Will said, came the moment that changed everything. Will's voice dropped to a quieter, deeper tone. I stayed quiet for 20 years. I convinced myself it wasn't happening, or that it wasn't happening to me. But then, the audio started to surface. He said the first time he heard about secret audio tapes being played in court, he didn't believe it. Then I got a call, not from the prosecution, not from a journalist, from someone I used to trust. They said, "Will, you're on one of those tapes. They played it yesterday. People are talking." He described feeling like the floor had dropped from under him. I didn't even know a tape like that existed, but once I accepted it might be real, everything else started to connect. Will said he stayed up all night, replaying memories. The party, the blackout, the envelope, the blocked numbers. It was all a system, and I was one of the victims. He said the breaking point wasn't fear, it was humiliation. I realized that if I didn't speak now, my silence would become my legacy, and I couldn't live with that. My kids are going to see these headlines. My grandkids might see them. I had to speak. He told the court he called the prosecution team himself. I told them, "I'm ready. Whatever you need, whatever questions you have, I'll answer them." He looked at the jury. I wasn't just coerced. I was played, I was filmed, and I was used. Then he looked at Diddy again, this time with a sharper tone. "And you knew exactly what you were doing." Will closed his eyes for a moment before speaking again, as if preparing to relive something he had fought to forget. When the prosecution asked if I wanted to hear the audio, I hesitated, he said, but I knew I had to. They played it behind closed doors. No press, no jury, just the judge, the lawyers, and Will. I heard myself laughing, Will said slowly. It was hollow. It wasn't real. I sounded drunk. No, drugged. He described the background of the audio. Slow music, low voices, the occasional cheer or shout. Then I heard Diddy, clear as day, saying something like, "That's how we break 'em in." And then I heard my name. They were saying my name while doing things I don't even want to repeat. He said it wasn't just humiliating, it was horrifying. There's a difference between being embarrassed and being stripped of your humanity. That tape, it took something from me. Will's voice cracked for the first time. He looked down, collecting himself, then continued, "I never consented to being recorded. I never agreed to be a part of that. But Diddy recorded it. He kept it, maybe to use, maybe just to have." He explained how, for years, he couldn't figure out why he would feel sudden anxiety when certain names were mentioned, why he had panic attacks during simple interviews. Now I know. It's because I wasn't crazy. I was remembering something I didn't want to remember. Will said that hearing the audio forced him to confront everything. The manipulation, the grooming, the betrayal from people who stood by and watched. And he said what shook him most wasn't what he heard. It was what I didn't remember. He looked at the jury and said, "If you want to know how powerful Diddy is, ask yourself how someone like me could be silenced for 20 years and not even realize it." By the time Will's testimony hit the media, it was too late for Hollywood to do damage control. The clips from court were viral before the bailiff could even call reset. Hashtags exploded. Our Will Speaks, our Freak Off tape, our Diddy file. And for the first time, the public saw Will not as a polished A-lister, but as a survivor. Will said, "I knew once I spoke, things would get ugly, but I didn't know how fast." He recounted how within 24 hours of testifying, he lost 2 pending brand endorsements. Another studio halted promotion for a film he had already shot, but he said it didn't matter, because I'd already lost something more valuable years ago, my voice. He said the calls started rolling in. Quiet ones, texts from actors, producers, even directors. Some of them thanking him, others warning him. One said, "You don't know who you just declared war on." Another said, "You've made yourself radioactive." Will mentioned a few names without full detail, citing legal reasons, but nodded when the prosecution asked about people like Kevin Hart, Meek Mill, and Lucien Grange. This isn't just a Diddy problem. It's an industry built on silence, and everyone's been trading in that currency. He also said he believed others had dirt on him. "I know after this, more footage might come out. They'll try to paint me as unstable, as broken. Let them. I'm not here to protect myself anymore. I'm here to protect the truth." He told the court he expected backlash, expected denials, and expected Diddy's legal team to claim he was making it all up. "They'll say I'm bitter. They'll say I'm covering something. But I ask you this. If I was lying, why did I wait this long? Why now, when I have more to lose than ever?" He ended that part of the testimony with a line that silenced the room. Sometimes the truth comes late, but it still hits like thunder. For his final statement, the judge allowed Will to speak directly to Diddy. He stood from the witness chair, walked a few feet closer, and looked him in the eye. "You built an empire out of manipulation," he began. "You called it success. You called it culture. You called it love, but all you built was fear." Diddy didn't respond. He sat there, motionless, his lawyer whispering in his ear. Will didn't blink. "I saw what you did to those girls. I saw what you did to me. I heard the things you said about me when you thought I wasn't listening. You broke people for sport." Then Will pulled something from his pocket, an old photo. "This was me in 2004, right before the first party. That's the man I used to be." He held it up to the court. "I haven't seen him in years." Will turned to the jury. "If you think this is just about Cassie or me or one night in some mansion..."
How to beat the heat. If you're struggling to stay cool in hot, stuffy rooms without an air conditioner, this quick solution.
You're not seeing the whole picture. This is about a network of power designed to silence truth. And if we don't tear it down, it will keep going. Then he faced Diddy one last time. "You once said nobody parties like Diddy. Well, nobody lies like you either." He walked back to the stand, picked up his things, and exited the courtroom without looking back. And Diddy? He sat there, pale, unblinking, his fingers shaking. Because for the first time in decades, he wasn't the one controlling the room. When Will Smith stepped down from the witness stand, he didn't look like a man who had won anything. He looked like someone who had finally stopped running. The courtroom was still tense, almost unsure how to breathe again. Even the judge looked shaken. Some of the jurors had tears in their eyes. And Diddy, for the first time in the entire trial, looked like he had nothing left to say. Will didn't speak to the press when he exited. He didn't wave, didn't posture. He walked out the front of the courthouse with his head held high, but his shoulders carried the weight of 20 years of trauma. When asked later by reporters if he felt relieved, he reportedly responded, "Relief isn't the right word. It's just finished." But outside the courtroom, the world was only beginning to react. Hollywood went into a quiet panic. Executives canceled meetings. Agencies paused deals. Directors and producers who had once celebrated Will Smith suddenly found their phones ringing with questions. The same people who once said, "He's family," were now issuing boilerplate statements of deep concern and commitment to truth. Behind closed doors, crisis teams were activated. PR firms sent internal memos urging clients to distance publicly from any past associations with Mr. Combs. And while many tried to pretend they were shocked, the internet was already doing what it does best, resurfacing the receipts. Old clips of Diddy brushing shoulders with top-tier names, parties where everyone looked too uncomfortable to be just partying, interviews where guests danced around uncomfortable questions, footage of Will, years ago, being interviewed and visibly recoiling when Diddy's name came up, and most painfully, dozens of clips from the Fresh Prince era, where fans now say Will looked like he was smiling through something. Fans weren't just shocked. They were furious. Furious that someone like Will had to carry this alone. Furious that for years the whispers were called conspiracy. And furious that the system had stayed quiet for so long. But Will didn't stay in hiding. The day after his testimony, he posted a single message online. A black and white photo of himself as a young actor in 1993, standing on a film set, smiling into the sun. The caption read, "He didn't know what was coming, but he made it through. I'm proud of him." No hashtags, no name drops, just that. The response was instant. Millions of shares, tens of thousands of comments, celebrities, activists, and everyday people thanking him for his courage. More than anything, survivors of abuse, men especially, flooded the post with their own confession. "You gave us a voice," one wrote. "If Will can speak, so can we." Meanwhile, back inside the court, Diddy's team scrambled. Rumors swirled that more subpoenas were going out, not just to musicians and assistants, but to executives at labels, distribution companies, even media conglomerates. What Will's testimony had done wasn't just personal, it had cracked the dam. And now, the flood was coming. Whispers said more tapes existed, not just audio, but visual footage, some of them featuring other public figures. The court sealed these for now, but according to insiders, if any of them leak, it would flip the industry upside down. And Will? He didn't return to work right away. He declined interviews. He canceled appearances, but he wasn't hiding. Insiders say he's been spending time with his kids, focused on rebuilding what matters. One friend told Variety, anonymously, he's healing now. For the first time in years, he's not pretending. Before court adjourned that day, the judge made a statement that caught even the media off guard. What we heard today was not just testimony, it was a reckoning, and this court acknowledges the courage it took to deliver it. The final shot of the day wasn't of Diddy. It wasn't even Will. It was of the jury, sitting motionless, processing everything they'd just heard. And in that silence, one thing was clear. The era of silence was over.
When we touch here, just try this.
That's what we need to take from all of this. The era of silence. There's so much Diddy's out there. So much Diddy's out there holding people down. Bondage, bounding people. Manipulating their way in people's lives. And it's all a game to them. Did he have money? And if some of them would ever come into some money, that's when you'll see the real them. A lot of them are hiding. But there's so much Will Smith and me. Yeah, we take long to come out. Some for one reason or the other. But what do? Don't sit down and blame the victim, who are victors, because they survived some of the most demonic entities roaming earth. You know how much victims they have out there? Some of the same victims sit down and criticize us, the ones that come out and speak. The same perpetrator has destroyed their life or has been meddling in their lives as well. I saw people wicked in this world. You hear me? But it's better to watch you go through what you're going through and them continue pretending for however long. Even make you look like you're the problem when they know the truth and know how evil the perpetrators are. Because what? Maybe the perpetrator have something on them too. Or they're afraid of the perpetrators and what they can do in their lives. Okay? I am glad that he had the courage to speak up. I hope others will follow in his footprints. Amen. The era of silence is over. A lot of people would not speak about what my ex-mother-in-law did to them. Because what? They're still involved with family members. Her sons, her grandchildren, friends of friends and friends. A lot of my baby father, them friends, know how evil my ex-mother-in-law is. They've known her from they were children growing up with my baby father. They've heard the things she said. They've heard the threats she's made. The in-laws, baby mothers of her grandson that tried to get close to me, that came to me and give me information about the evil she was professing to do, turned on me because them getting to fear our head and twist up everything and try to turn us against each other and them turn against me. Yes. We are not fighting a physical battle, people. Tired for telling you. It's a spiritual battle. It's a spiritual warfare. And the sooner you all wake up and start getting closer to God, the wiser you will become. That's how you will know and learn how to defend yourself against this spiritual demon. Okay? But thank you guys for watching. Diddy, there's a lot of Diddies out there. A whole lot of Diddies out there. But there are more Cassies and Will Smith and individuals willing to break the era of silence, no matter what the cost, no matter what relationships it breaks, just to keep our sanity and live in peace away from these demons. Have a blessed day. Have a blessed evening. And like I always say when I sign off, we are blessed and highly favored. Have a good one. See you next time. Same place, TikTok, YouTube, Short and Spicy Nikks. Go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Short and Spicy Nikks. A lot of my stories I share there. Also, my family vlog channel, Nikki and the Fam. Click the TikTok link, Linktree link, and you'll be connected to my YouTube channels and other platforms on social media. YouTube, have a blessed weekend. Have a blessed day. We're blessed and highly favored. Later, Mac. Love you. And silent viewers, have a great one.